All right, so we're diving into Liquid Death's marketing strategy. We've got a goldmine of insights here from a conversation between Mo Said, from Mojo Supermarket, and Liquid Death's CMO, Daniel Murphy. So if you're trying to shake things up in marketing, this is a good one.
Yeah, definitely. Listening to Murphy, I was struck by how much he talked about hunger and speed. Like he really emphasizes how important it is to move fast and be agile, even for a brand that's already doing well. He even compared it to Amazon's day one philosophy.
Yeah, it's like they're actively trying to avoid getting complacent, even though they've had some, pretty big wins.
Exactly. It's a good reminder for all of us, right?
Yeah,
It's not enough to just disrupt once. To stay ahead, you need to make innovation part of your culture.
for sure. And speaking of shaking things up, we've got to talk about how Liquid Death approaches their creative team. They basically said, see you later to the whole traditional agency model.
Yeah, Murphy actually used the word divorce to describe it. They went all in on building their own in-house creative team, which they very aptly called the Death Machine.
Okay, I mean, points for staying on brand. But it's interesting, right? It's not just about having an in-house team. It's about the kinds of people they bring in. Murphy mentioned hiring, like a skater, a bassist, even a bartender.
It makes sense when you think about it, though. They're looking for people who haven't been, completely immersed in that traditional agency world.
It's all about fresh perspectives, right? Those raw, unfiltered creative voices.
Exactly. They're looking for people who understand what makes things go viral, people who know how to connect with audiences on a deeper level.
And that unconventional thinking, it goes beyond their internal team, too. They take a very interesting approach to outsourcing. We're not talking about big agencies here. Liquid Death, they've decided to tap into the minds of stand-up comedians.
It sounds crazy at first,
Yeah.
but it makes total sense when you remember that humor is such a huge part of their brand. They recognize that comedians, they have this unique ability to craft jokes, stories that really land with people.
It's true. And instead of forcing those comedic voices into a corporate box, Liquid Death has found a way to, let them be themselves.
Yeah, and they're not just bringing them in for one-offs either. Murphy mentioned they work with some comedians on an equity model. It's like a real partnership. They're invested in each other's success.
So it's more than just hiring them. It's like they're saying, we believe in you, let's do this thing, which kind of makes you wonder about their whole marketing plan. Like, do they even have one? I mean, not in the traditional sense, right?
Right. They definitely have a strategy, but it's a lot less, rigid than what you might expect. They're all about instinct. And Murphy even said that a lot of the time, they just go with their gut.
It's less about the data, more about what feels right?
Yeah, absolutely. And a big part of that is thinking about shareability. Like when they're coming up with an idea, a big question they ask is, are people going to want to share this? Think about it. We scroll through so much content every day. Liquid Death wants to be the stuff that makes you stop and tag your friend.
Totally. They're definitely good at that. Remember that skateboard funeral campaign? Talk about viral marketing gold. But it's not random either. They know who their audience is. I mean, they've actually said it's whoever is thirsty and loves humor.
It's kind of brilliant how simple that is. And
Right.
it really gets at the heart of their brand. And there's something else I love about their approach. They don't waste time with all the marketing fluff that everyone else seems to be doing.
Yeah, you're not going to see some long, drawn-out teaser campaign from Liquid Death or like a big celebrity reveal.
It's like they know we don't have the patience for that anymore. You got to grab people's attention immediately. Speaking of, that's probably why they've been so successful with connected TV, CTV.
Okay, so for anyone who's not totally familiar with all the latest marketing lingo, CTV, that's basically just a fancy way of saying all the streaming services we're all hooked on.
Right, exactly. And think about it. How annoying is it when you're in the middle of watching something and then, bam, an ad?
The worst, and don't even get me started on those ones that autoplay with sound when you're trying to watch something on your phone in public.
The worst. But Liquid Death, they saw an opportunity there. They understood that with CTV, you can't just interrupt. You have to entertain.
So they treat those ads more like the actual content, the stuff people are choosing to watch.
Yeah, exactly. Murphy actually said that most brands haven't really adapted to CTV yet. They're still stuck in that old way of thinking, just interrupting you with their message.
So while other brands are doing the same old thing, Liquid Death is over here actually making ads people want to watch. Funny, engaging. It's pretty smart.
And it plays into that whole mega hit strategy that they're always talking about. They rather create a few really high impact pieces of content every month rather than just churning out a bunch of mediocre stuff.
I like that approach. So what exactly counts as a mega hit for them? I mean, is it just about views?
It's more than just views for sure. It's about creating something that people actually talk about, content that goes viral. Stuff like that Super Bowl ad they did a few years ago.
Right. That was definitely a mega hit. I mean, everyone was talking about it. But I'm guessing they're not like spending Super Bowl level money on every ad, right?
Oh, definitely not. A lot of what they do is actually pretty low budget. They're constantly experimenting, testing out new ideas, and they aren't afraid to try something a little different to see what works.
So they've got the big high budget stuff, the blue chip content, and then all this other stuff that's more experimental. I like it.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes them so adaptable. They can jump on trends, try new things. That's huge in the marketing world.
Yeah, there's something kind of freeing about that, right? No fear of failure, just try stuff and see what happens. And you can really see that experimental energy in their social media too.
Totally. Like,
Yeah.
they don't just post the same perfectly polished stuff all the time. They're willing to get a little weird with it.
They like to have fun with it, don't take themselves too seriously. It's actually really refreshing, you know? Like, in a world where everything's so curated and perfect, Liquid Death is just out there being themselves.
And that's so important. I think that's a big reason why people connect with their brand so much. They're not just selling a product. They're selling a feeling, an attitude.
It's like it created a whole community. People who like to laugh, who don't need things to be conventional.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And it's not just about going viral or anything. It shows that you can build a brand that feels genuine, a brand that people can actually relate to.
Definitely. So, as we wrap up our Liquid Death deep dive here, what would you say is the main takeaway? What can we all learn from this, from this kind of unconventional approach?
For me, it's about being authentic and being willing to take some risks. Liquid Death has proven you don't have to follow all the traditional rules to be successful. Sometimes playing it safe is actually the riskiest thing you can do.
Totally. I mean, they've challenged every convention in the book, and they've managed to have a lot of fun doing it.
Right. So if our listeners remember just one thing from all this, be bold. Don't be afraid to experiment. And find ways to bring a little joy and humor into the work.
Love that. A huge thanks to Mo Said and Daniel Murphy for such a great conversation. They're not just changing the marketing game, they're rewriting the rule book entirely. And for everyone listening, we hope this deep dive has inspired you to rethink your own approach to marketing, to creativity, really just to approaching anything. Until next time, stay curious.